Okay, sorry for the delay. Let's get started. Wow, took a while. I just realized we had too much going on this week. We had a quiz and we just barely got back. So I kicked the quiz down to April 19th. So you should get a notification that it's being changed. And we'll do a review before the quiz. So looking at the modules for what's coming up, we're back. We're talking about social media. And today we want to start getting ready for next week. There's an in-class assignment, an industry news assignment. So I'm going to ask you to bring in a short summary of a news article that you found about a major development in the entertainment or electronic media industries. It's required attendance for everybody, so those who are streaming or once in a while with us, everyone has to come in. So that's why it's scheduled over 2 days next week. We don't have a huge enrollment this semester, so we might get it all done like on the 10th or the 12th as well. I'm not sure. So we'll see. But the first thing it's easy to do between us here in the classroom is just decide, okay, what focus are you going to have in your little research for this industry news? This is not hard. It doesn't require a library research or anything. Typically, there's a huge prompt here, but it's not that complicated. Basically, what we've done in the past is get together in small groups, 2 or 3 people. The group picks a kind of area of the electronic media business, and we'll learn more about this next week. But basically, the business is dominated by 5 really gigantic corporations that own amazing amounts of stuff. Disney's a great example, right? They own the amusement parks, which are not our interest really, but they own ABC, they own ESPN. They're starting their own streaming services, as we talked about early on, and they own publishing companies, radio, many cable channels, all the rest of it, and the parent holding companies of other media companies, like for instance National Amusements, which holds CBS as well as all of Viacom and stuff. So these are gigantic vertically integrated companies. So typically what we've done in the past is just said, I'm interested in the CBS Sports Network or something. I'll join a group that is working on National Amusements or something like that. And then basically you look through the web, just looking for relatively recent news about the company and something that's important to the media operations of the company. So in other words, first of all, Disney, we wouldn't want to talk about theme parks, but if ESPN's stock is in trouble, that's a great news item to bring in. And all you really have to do after that, once you've chosen something that you feel is newsworthy, is summarize it so that you could say it within about a minute, and the format that we're taking is kind of like a news show format. So, you might come up and say, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In breaking news today in entertainment, Disney has announced that it will, open a streaming service for its Disney-branded content. Remember, Disney owns Pixar, Lucasfilm." And so they're going to have a lot of properties that people are going to want to stream. We don't yet know how much the subscription price is, but the industry analyst that was interviewed suggested it would be this much. That would be it. That would be like a minute, all coming from one article, basically up front for a minute or two just to pitch it, and then you're done. Okay? But what I find really interesting about this is we often find out new stuff that I didn't even know about, that we haven't shared in class yet. And also sometimes there are trends that come out. It's like, all of a sudden all the news is about streaming, or all the news is about, Congress and Facebook, or something like that. So it can be interesting. So Ron, we're just talking about an in-class assignment that we're going to do next week. So what that is going to be is like a really kind of quick 1-minute news news announcement from each student, basically. So you do a little research on a media company, find out something new that's going on with the company, and then write it up so you can say it like a news broadcaster. And then just would come up and we do them one after. Usually we do it in groups. We'll see. I like the smile. I'm glad. Everyone else is kind of like, I don't want to do that.
No, because I just the real idea how to present it, but you might be able to put out a character.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Well, let's see now. So some of the things that I ask just to make this useful, because it is possible that we could search around and find all kinds of stuff that's not really useful. But so when you go looking for a news item, first of all, keep in mind it's got to be newsworthy. It should be about an important current event that is impactful. In other words, it's something that's going to, the competitors out there, they're going to say, hey, ooh, what are we going to do about that? Like Disney streaming is going to affect Netflix, because Disney properties are hugely popular. So anyone who wants to go see anything from Pixar, Lucasfilm, ABC, etc., they're not going to find it anywhere now except on the Disney streaming platforms. That's going to affect the business, right? There are other kind of things you'll read on the internet which are not going to have any impact on a business. So try to think it through a little bit, like, what's gonna be a big deal? An AT&T merger is a huge deal. Then there are other things that are smaller. So look for stuff that's big, that impacts the competitors. This is like industry news, right? It's the businesses, News items should be about the broadcasting activity of these companies. So even though Disney does a theme park is not broadcasting, right? It's like, people going to the park. But anything about Disney Radio, Disney, all those Disney family channels, etc., that's all good. And try to keep it timely. In other words, check the date. Over at San Francisco State, somebody came in with a news item that was 19 years old. I was kind of like, why are we talking about that? That's, we're trying to learn what's going on now. Each group presentation should begin with some basic information about the company you're covering. And you could find that on Wikipedia really quickly. And we may waive that requirement based on there's not all that many people, so there's not going to be all that many groups. So I might just let people, especially people who've been streaming and stuff, it's hard for them to get together and discuss anything. So maybe they could just go like as individuals. So then I would just say, be aware of what the company is at least. Look at Wikipedia, just scan the first 4 paragraphs of Wikipedia to find out, like what is National Amusements? No one's ever heard of it, but it's actually the holding company of all the Viacom cable channels and CBS networks television. So huge brands under a company. So, what kind of business is it? How long has it existed? Just so you have a general idea, that would be good. And then write it up. So it says it should be properly scripted. It just means write it up like a news thing, like you're a news announcer. So don't say, yeah, I read this thing that said this and then it said that. Say it like you're the news announcer. Say the news. You're reporting this. Right? Should be about 60 seconds. So it could go longer. Sometimes it goes longer, but don't intentionally go. You must mention the date and the source of the information. So you'd say, Bloomberg News reported that, the New York Times reported, the Wall Street Journal reported that, so pay attention to the news source. And if you find that you've got some really big industry news and it's from a website that, is just quoting something that is more authoritative, then go look for the more authoritative source so that you have some reliable information, basically. Don't get fooled on that. So look at it and figure it if it's a major newspaper or something that's in Google News, for instance, they will filter for credible websites and stuff. So do that. All right. Mention the date and the source. Again, I want you to be aware of how recent this news is. maybe you're going to report something incredible, and then it turns out that, it's actually not going to happen, and we didn't know about that. So try to find out, just make sure it's actually current. And then I give you an example, so you can read over the example if you're worried about how it's going to be. So, I give you a link to an actual news story there, and then I just, I summarized it. So 60 seconds is, if you're using a 12-point font, it comes in at about 10, 12 lines. So, that should give you an idea. What you're really doing is writing 10, 12 lines that you can easily say in front of it, and you can read it, right? You don't have to memorize it. So that's it. So that's what we'll be doing next week. Questions about it? Well, now let's look through some of the options. This screen doesn't really get too big, but and this is not the only. These are not the only media companies in the world. But looking through these, so Comcast has NBC Universal, which is Universal Pictures, NBC Television, a bunch of film distributors, DreamWorks, and then a bunch of cable networks. Gosh, Comcast owns a hockey team too. Incredible. All right. Then you got Disney with ABC, Disney Channel, ESPN. Pixar, Lucasfilms, Marvel. How could I forget Marvel? It's because I'm old and I'm not interested. All right, 21st Century Fox, which is, as we heard, and this might be a great news item, this company is being split up. So a lot of the film activities will be sold over Disney Way, it seems. And, they're going to hold on to the Fox News channel, cable network, and a few other things. But a lot of that is getting torn apart. But if there's anything in there that you feel like reporting on, right? Time Warner, CNN, the CW. Ron, you wrote an excellent essay about it. You might want to continue on with the CW or something. HBO, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all under Time Warner. And then what we said, National Amusements, which holds CBS and all of Viacom. And then there's also all kinds of news about what I call the digital upstarts, which is not a company, but just, can you find out stuff about Netflix, about Amazon Studios, about Apple? Apple is going into streaming television production in a big way. Or other platforms like we might talk about today, YouTube, Facebook, etc. Okay, so I would like you guys to pick one of these, one of these companies anyway, just so we don't get everybody kind of randomly. What happens with this is people go on Google and we get 5 people got the same because they went for the first interesting story that came up on the search. So could we get folks who would be interested in working on any one of the companies that you see here under Comcast, with the idea that, if you pick Comcast, you could, search out news about any of these things. Well, not the hockey team, right? But who wants Comcast? Anyone going to go for Comcast? Or, okay, well, let's go down. You look at your options, and then we'll have a second turnaround. Disney. Who wants Disney? Anyone want something? Okay. Ivan. All right. And Andrea? I'm blanking on everybody's name. I've been gone in a deep way. I've been gone. So anyway, okay. So Disney. All right. Cool. Anybody else? There's more. Pardon me?
What is it for again?
This is for a presentation, a news presentation.
Oh, Disney, yeah.
You want to go for Disney? And what's your name again?
Nico.
Nico. Okay. Disney, we're good. I thought we'd get more for Disney. All right. 21st Century Fox. Who's up for that? So that would be Fox News, the Fox Broadcasting Network, right? KTVU is a part of that. Business Network, Sports Network, film distributors, and of course the whole thing is being sold, right? Ron, go for it. The CW as well? Okay. Thank you.
I promise I'll be biased.
You promise you won't be biased?
Yeah.
Oh, this is news. You know, it's you're just really reporting on the goings on.
No, get it.
What's that?
No, get it.
No edit?
No, do you get it? Like, sometimes Fox biases news.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. What do they say? Fair and balanced. That's their slogan, right? Of course. Okay. So anyone want to join Ron on Fox? All right. What else we got? Time Warner. Anyone interested in what you see there? HBO, Turner Classics, all those things. Practically impossible to see anything. Huh, let me see. I just wanted to go here to chat and see if anyone was like jumping in, if anyone's on chat. 5 people online, awesome. I want Disney. Okay, Natalia is joining the Disney group. Okay. Anybody else? Well, let's see if they vote yet for something they want to do. All right, back to. Where is it? So anyone for Time Warner? And I was wrong, Ron. I said CW was with 21st Century Fox was with Time Warner. Okay, anyone in the CBS or Viacom wheelhouse? Anyone want to do that? Nickelodeon? Anyone grew up watching Nickelodeon? They care about Nickelodeon or anything? Cable channels, VH1, all that. They got a streaming service going. That could be interesting. Simon and Schuster, publisher. I mean, it's a great example. Like, they get an author published by Simon and Schuster, and they put him on a talk show that goes on CBS, and you know they make a special that goes on one of the cable channels and stuff. That's how they all make their money. Keep the programming cheap. Okay, digital upstarts. Anyone interested? Yeah, Jonah, what would you be interested in?
Maybe looking like apples and like
Sorry,
Apple
Apple. Okay.
production or their production.
Cool. Yes, and good point. So, you don't want to talk about the new line of laptops that's coming out. You want to, as you say, talk about TV. Others, Netflix, Amazon Studios, anything like that? We're at the bottom of the list, so. YouTube, anyone want to talk about things going on YouTube? Facebook, there's a lot of news about Facebook right now. Okay, got to choose now. Oh, we got too many in Disney now, I think. Yeah, that's the only thing. How about you take a look at anything in Time Warner? Adult Swim. What else are we seeing in there? 2 people have to choose. Help me out here. Choose something. You want to do Fox along with Ron? Okay, remind me of your name.
Arnold.
Arnold. Okay, thanks. So, Ron and Arnold on Fox. That's excellent. Not the CW. Okay, Fox, Ron and Arnold. Okay, cool. And I think that just leaves you. Any ideas? YouTube? Okay, cool. That's a great idea. Let me put you in a group with Jonah. We'll call you guys the digital upstarts. And can I spell it all? So Jonah for Apple. And your name again? Sorry?
Arthur.
Arthur? Okay. So Arthur on YouTube. And, you know, guys, look around. If it turns, you know, if as you do your search, you find an incredibly juicy news item about, you know, you were supposed to work on YouTube and you find something great about Netflix or something, you know, change. It's okay. Like it's hard to say without looking around, doing the research to see. Okay, it's not someone knocking on the door. Somebody was like trapped between the walls during the break. So you could look under Google News and you could look at, you know, more about YouTube, for instance. Hey, what's going on with YouTube? Whoa, shooting at YouTube headquarters, leave suspect dead. Oh, that sucks, man.
Yeah, I didn't bring that up.
That just happened.
That just happened.
It's
Wow.
still alive.
That's That's pretty bad.
When did this?
Well, that's not exactly industry news, so don't cover that. That's terrible. Look at all the things you find out, right? Now let's see, if we weren't going to go for YouTube, but something more obscure. Let's go, well, let's see what's saying about Adult Swim. Okay, so, stories that are just promoting the next episode or something, those are not interesting because, they don't impact the bottom line of the industry. So, let's not get Ren and Stimpy creator accused of predatory behavior, sexual misconduct. Oh boy. All right. So that could impact the business. If the person is still current, they have to go. John Lasseter at Pixar is on leave, and there's a lot of heavy-duty executives who've been touched by this type of thing. So that might be interesting. Yeah, this is just one way to look at it. Now, there are other publications that you might not know too much about, but there's, for instance, one called Broadcast and Cable. So this is all TV business news. So, if you go looking for this type of thing, you'll avoid, there's a new episode of X, Y, or Z, and instead there is, you'll get like basically big deal news here. So that's a good one. Broadcasting and Cable. Anybody know any others? Variety is an industry, it's movie industry, but it also covers TV. And it covers tech. Roseanne, by the way, had, I think, 26 million unique viewers for the reboot of Roseanne. That's gigantic, right, on ABC. So that's newsful. So there's Variety. They got good news there on the industry. There's the Hollywood Reporter, which is a little more movie news, but it also covers a lot of stuff. Stranger Things creators sued for allegedly stealing concept for Netflix show. Well, now how surprising is that? Not very surprising. Dave Chappelle sued by man who threw banana peel at him during performance.
What is that? What?
Couldn't make it up. Here, this one says Dave Chappelle sued by man who threw banana peel at him during performance.
How can you be sued by?
His lawsuit contends that Chappelle's bodyguard struck Englander twice as he was being restrained. Okay, so they were too rough on him after he threw something at Dave Chappelle. Well, anyway, you'll find interesting. Again, they've got TV. If you check out the business, Spotify valued at $30 billion in stock market debut. Pretty damn good. Okay. So if you want to quickly turn up more relevant news than just Googling around randomly, what do we say? Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and what else did we start with? It was. Go to Broadcasting and Cable. Okay, so those are all news sources, but you can find, you can find it wherever you can find it. I'm not requiring you to use these, but they're good. Cool. All right. Let's just check anybody else in chat that we can add in. Ethan will do Time Warner. Okay, awesome. Anyone want to? Well, we've kind of set everybody up here. So Time Warner is Ethan. That's great. Even if we just have one story from each, it's good. Sarah, let's see. Oh, we got a lot of people online here all of a sudden. Oh no, these are old. Okay. Sarah's here. Ethan wants Time Warner. Okay, awesome. All right, well, people in chat, if I can add you to one of these lists, that's great. Otherwise, I'm going to email everybody out an announcement sort of saying, okay, this is what we got to do, so you got to pick something before next Tuesday. And then on Thursday, I'll make a schedule just of when we'll do these. I think we can put them all on the 12th, probably. So count on that. I think we can do everything on the 12th. That should be good. Cool. Well, this will be fun. I think, you know, much more fun than the usual class situation. I hope that you think so too. So wait, leave student view. We definitely want to leave the student view. And if you have, if you change your mind or anything, just email me and you know, you can tell me, hey, I said I wanted to be on YouTube, but I want to do something else. That's okay. As long as not everybody's doing Disney or one thing, we're good. Okay, well, that took a while, considering we're not all that many people. There's a rubric here, just, you know, to get you to remember. You want your presentation to sound like it's from the news. You have to put in your story the source of the news, like the New York Times on April 14th said. The writing style, it should sound, you know, you won't be able to say this out loud if you just copy it from the newspaper. Make it easier to say, make it conversational. You know, editorial just means it's something that's newsworthy. It's got to have an impact on the industry, and it's got to be recent enough so it is like not 20 years ago. You know, within the last 2 years, I say. Organization, you were here, you did it, you were on the ball. You weren't just like off the top of your head. You had a paper where you'd written some notes or your script. That's it. So those are all the things that I grade you on. Righto. Well, we are done with this unless you have any questions. Cool. So back out into the modules. This is the week of social media. And again, this is a week that I always really enjoy because I get to hear from you guys a little bit more about what you're doing with social media, which is cool. Resources, social media, advertising characteristics. Interesting. Yeah, this is an article that I dug up which compares the different social media platforms based on, you know, how they gather an audience and, you know, depending on what type of advertising you want to do, what kind of opportunities they offer. So this can be interesting. We're not always taking, we don't always, you know, look at media from the perspective of being an advertiser and what we want to do on it. So it's an interesting article. And maybe we can dip back into it in a sec. In the PowerPoints and the chapter, there's a little bit of history regarding, you know, social media, and it dips way back into some early systems, way before the web existed even. So, you know, these were basically like Reddit channels, I think mostly. There's, you know, just really textual. People would join these different listservs or bulletin board systems. You know, there would be one for, you know, an Apple computer user little bulletin board, and you jump in there and people would just message each other back and forth. So I'm not sure if they even continue to exist. IRC. The well, though, is something that's Bay Area, and I started looking into this in 1995, so it was an early one. The guy I interviewed for a radio show I had was named Howard Rheingold. He wrote a book called The Virtual Community, all about the well. and he was using the Well, which was it was another electronic bulletin board service. Basically, just people subscribed, get into the Well, and then email each other back and forth, kind of like. Kind of like a neighborhood blog type of thing as well. So anyway, well, not a blog because there was no publishing; it was just messaging. But he envisioned it as a community of people who would help each other out, who didn't know each other in actual physical space, but who knew each other just as in their presence online. And of course, that was a big deal back in the day versus now. It's pretty commonplace. You're playing video games with people you've never met, but you develop friendships just based online, and you've met them online, and you're doing fun stuff. Let's see. Anyone ever heard of Friendster?
Yes.
Did you? Yeah. Did you ever use it, Ivan? No. No. Okay. Yeah. So. Apparently, Friendster, the groundbreaking social networks. I heard of MySpace, but I'd never heard of Friendster. So, but MySpace, these are the web era social networking sites early on, Facebook and such. So there's a useful, I guess, the chapter in the textbook just tries to sort of say some general things about social media. It's user-generated content, which is lovely. The company provides the platform, the people fill it full of content. They also apparently give up their personal data in gobs in order to participate in it. So you've got free content creation. You've got engagement in a way that mass media dreamed about, because you've got people spending hours in your platform. You've got fantastically precise data about them and their interests and what they do. And of course, all of that is superior to mass media, where you just have a kind of a broad idea of who's watching and some general characteristics about them. And of course, you have to pay millions of dollars to produce those TV shows to get them there, versus the social media is like the content creation costs are, in its classic form, it's relatively cheap. And then, YouTube will make a YouTube Red, and then they actually have to pay for some content. But the early days are all free user-generated content. So yeah, those are some general characteristics. And so let's just think about that just for a sec here. Profile. Okay, just some things to keep in mind. So as we go ahead then, so there's a series of questions on the quiz and the exam, just the most general things imaginable about the characteristics of these social networking sites. Facebook. Anybody still on Facebook? What are your memories or associations with Facebook? Was Facebook your first social media that you got into? No, Ivan? No. What did you start with?
I think it was a MySpace account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where it all started.
Are you musical? Did you have like
This
band
was
stuff
before
up
it was
there?
big on music. It was just
Okay.
like a social media site. Yeah.
Okay, and then and MySpace just ran out of steam, right?
It did.
After Fox paid $1 billion for it or something, and then all the users disappeared. Did anyone else have a MySpace experience, or was it
Not
Ron?
much. I went on just to listen to music on MySpace.
Yeah.
I had a page, and then sort of photos, but I didn't know anything about that. I just copy pasted it and decided to it's my own page.
Okay. It's kind of a useful place to put stuff too, then. Yeah. Andrea, what did you do with it?
I was in elementary school.
I love it.
All the cool kids had MySpace, so I wanted to be cool, so I made one. I just had a picture on there. We didn't really use it. I think we would just chat with each other.
Uh-huh.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
What
And so,
year were you?
I'm 20. Yeah.
so you had a computer then too. That's cool.
Yeah, it was
A big one.
a big computer.
And how about Facebook? Like, was that next? I mean, did everybody get onto that?
I ended up on Facebook because everybody else in camp is on Facebook. It's like, well, okay, everybody's on Facebook, and it's the only way I can keep in contact with everybody.
That's a pretty big draw, right? And I wonder why YouTube, I'm sorry, why MySpace didn't have the same appeal in that way.
I think it's more of a fad, that's why.
Okay.
It's kind of like Pokemon Go, except it's just a little bit more longer as far as its duration. Not even I can really understand like why you kind of peaked and all of a sudden everybody just dropped it and walked away from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Andrea?
I feel like because Facebook happened like a few years later when I was in middle school, and then like I remember in my head, all the grown-ups didn't have Facebook. It was just teenagers or like people in school,
Yeah.
like people in college too. Like in my head, they were grown-ups, and then like now, all my parents have Facebook. Like my family has.
Yeah.
I feel like Facebook has really expanded
Yeah.
from like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, you're absolutely right in your perception. I think
Yeah.
part of the brilliance of Facebook was that they restricted it to young people, right? And
Yeah.
in high schools and universities, and they went literally like they went around the country, like offering access to, like on a school by school basis, basically. So it kept the user base young, and all respect intended, young people are the cycles of fads in young people's culture move faster. It's like fidget spinners 1 month, and the next month everyone's now into slime in my kid's school. And it's like, just what'll it be 3 or 4 months from now? So yeah, these things explode like that, and then it becomes totally uncool, and it opens up to older people, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and then the younger people go, oh, I don't want my mom watching my account all day because
Go to
she's there.
Twitter.
So then you go somewhere. Where do you go? To Twitter?
Yeah.
Was that where you went?
I feel like, in my generation, nobody's parents really have Twitter. It's more of a
It's true.
younger
Yes.
generation.
Yeah, that is my perception as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any guess as to why? Does anyone else have a guess? But do you have
No
any
one
guess?
wants them to know.
Oh, okay. And I think it's also the sheer volume of it, and it's just there's so much of it. I don't think people want notifications all the time or anything. But I don't know. So let's see. We got elementary, we got middle school. So I can assume high school was Twitter, I guess. And for other folks, Snapchat? No? Rowan's out. Andrea, yes? Yes?
Yeah.
What the hell do you do with Snapchat?
You take pictures and you send them to people.
Yeah, but can I just do that normally?
But it's like they have this thing where you can watch people's stories. So as people go throughout their day, you can see what they did and their experiences.
That sounds cool.
Couldn't I have done that on Facebook?
I feel like on Facebook you could do live streaming, but it's not like the same.
So it's kind of like Kicks in comparison to Cocoa Puffs.
Sure.
Are the stories in Snapchat are they kind of displayed in a way where they have a cohesion? Like
Yeah, like it's in chronological order. So
okay.
like let's say your friend Maria posted on her story or something, and then like it's from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. and you literally see all the things she posted. And like let's say she went on a trip to New York City or something, you can see her flight, you can see like
Okay.
the food she ate. Like it's really, I like it. It's
Yeah,
fun.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it obviously, I guess it has a different effect. And which is the one where the messages disappear, like they're impermanent? They go away.
Snapchat.
The Snapchat as well?
You can save them, but they
Okay.
disappear if you don't save them.
Okay, so like this book function that you're talking about, is that because you're saving them, or is that a different
No, that's
thing?
separate.
It's a separate app,
The
part of the
messages
app.
you send to them can disappear.
Okay.
Their stories are only up for that day.
Okay.
So if you don't catch up with them, you don't see their story. Like it just disappears.
Ah, okay, I see.
It makes you want to come back and check it and see like, oh,
Right. Yeah. And that is one of the more insidious parts of all of it, I guess, is the way that they just keep you coming back all the time.
They have some cool filters. So like if you have it on your face and there's like, let's say there was a Warriors game, it's like go Warriors, or if it has like a little filter where you put like a dog face on you. You could put all kinds of faces on you and it's fun, you know.
Yeah. Actually, it reminded me of something. Yeah, and I believe that's why Apple put two cameras on the iPhone 10.
You like the dog filter, don't you?
There he is.
I used to like it a lot. Now I don't really use it.
How come? Where we're going with it?
It's just old now, you know.
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
Okay.
I hate it.
Go with that. What else have we got? So let's just see. How about Reddit? It's too bad Simon disappeared because he was quite proud of being a kind of Reddit and what was the other 4chan that he was talking about? So he was into the mythology that some of these sites are more cutting edge or underground than others. Anyone into Reddit? No? A little bit? Some channels on it, maybe? Boom, back we go. What else we got? LinkedIn. Everyone's on LinkedIn, I hope, right? Yes, or you should be.
I gotta test your profile.
When looking for a job. When looking for a job, it's a great thing to do. So in our class, BCST 159, digital portfolio, we help you make a portfolio of your best creative work that you do in our department, but also we encourage you to get onto LinkedIn, and we have a little section about LinkedIn and stuff like that. I was recruiting people to, tomorrow night we've got an industry advisory, so I had to get together the people who are going to talk about multimedia journalism and convergent media journalism, which is like basically online journalism. And so, like half the people I kind of knew a few people, and I knew people who knew people, but the rest I just went on LinkedIn and I started just mailing in everybody hey, CCSF, help us out. Everybody wants to help CCSF. Everybody wants to advise and make sure the program is great. It's fantastic. But it's now like $60 a month to get access to, the kinds of features where you can see everybody's profile. Microsoft bought it, and they're super greedy, and they've kind of made it really hard. So anyhow, that's useful. And they also, they started off just basically like as pure networking, and then they realized they could make more money by building engagement. So then they got, they developed their own kind of influencers, their own YouTubers. They encouraged them to blog and, give expert advice and stuff to turn it from just a, professional networking into more like a kind of a Facebook thing with a feed of articles and stuff like that to try to keep you interested, and of course to sell advertising on that. So that's interesting. Anybody using Flickr? Anybody posting photos up there or anything? No? You've seen it? Yeah.
I see it, but not like on other social media.
Okay.
Like they post stuff from Flickr.
Yeah. It's a great source for like Creative Commons licensed imagery, because there's a lot of amateur photographers or people who put their stuff up there, and they'll say you can use this as long as you credit me. So if you have a blog or you need a source for, uncopyrighted images, Flickr is a great one. Yeah. So, but it was actually like a pretty early. It's a photo sharing site, and now there are just so many ways to share photos, and of course Facebook eats up a lot of this anyway. But back in the day when people were sort of taking pictures and then uploading them in a laborious process, and amateur photographers were building their little galleries, which is very different than shooting a shot of what happened 5 minutes ago and posting it up somewhere. So Flickr was a big deal, but it's still interesting to use, I guess. So good for image stuff. Okay, Twitter. So Andrea was talking about it. Anybody else using Twitter? Yeah, Ron? Pretty often? Do you tweet or you just follow people and...
I don't even follow anybody. I just post stuff. That's on my mind.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't done that since 3 years ago, so not as much.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I find it interesting. They call it in the textbook a microblog social network. So, by blogging they mean places to share information. So they define blogs, which it's not unreasonable. Places to share information. And so that's why they'll call Twitter a microblog, because it's just like 140 characters. So, journalists are heavily into Twitter, that's for sure. Just because it's such an immediate way of sharing information. So journalists are on there promoting their own brand and their own work constantly, and they're also following stories like constantly. Because it runs so fast that no conventional publishing medium could ever keep up. Do we have any Twitter detractors? Does anybody see any, personally, why aren't you involved?
I feel because it's more of like a business type of, well, for me personally, if I were to have a business or were to be a person of public interest, then I would have a Twitter, but I'm not, so
That's a really good
don't
point.
really have the need to get a Twitter. I mean, I already have multiple branches of social media where I can get my news from. I have Facebook, I have Snapchat, I have Instagram. I don't feel like I need a Twitter. I would just be like social media overload.
Yeah,
That's just my personal thing.
yeah. But it's I think, as you said, you're not interested in being a person of interest or something. It's like you're not going to put all that effort into participating and tweeting all the time because you don't want to be known that way necessarily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's just my thing.
Yeah. Do other people feel that way? Because it makes sense to me. Yeah? How come you guys aren't tweeting? Idea, Arthur?
Also, things can always come back to you. I mean, if I were to say a very stupid joke, and maybe somewhere down the line I were to get a job somewhere, you can easily find your history, your records.
Right.
I have a very
why bother?
dark sense of humor, so that's why I'm just
Okay.
stay off of Twitter.
Keep it under wraps.
Come back to
Keep it under wraps, because
I feel like Twitter is different in that it's very personal. It's a lot, at least like within like the people that I know, when they post on Twitter, it's not like an event in their life. It's more like their day-to-day thoughts.
oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
so like they just like to share that, and people relate to it, and that's how they get blown up. Or
Uh-huh.
sometimes it's just funny. I think Twitter's just really funny because it's so much of that internal dialogue.
Got you. Like stream of consciousness or
Yeah.
something? That was just like out it
Yeah.
comes, out it comes. Yeah, that's interesting.
But there's also like a bad side of Twitter.
I've heard so much about it, but
There's
tell
the
more.
dark side of Twitter. Well, it's like, to me, it's
People
like
ganging up on you and stuff like that.
I think it's just when it comes to politics, it can be very disturbing to read things that people share, and it can be disrespectful. It can because it's online, they don't care.
Yeah,
So I think that's the dark side of it.
yeah, it's a good point. And I read recently stories in the New York Times, stories about people buying Twitter followers by the hundreds of thousands, and there's estimates that I can't remember the exact numbers, but estimates that a large percentage, not the majority, but I don't know, can't even say, but maybe easily 10%, 15% aren't even real people. They're like bots, and then and you can also purchase followers and stuff to raise your
Yeah, just so that it looks like you have followers.
right.
Yeah,
right?
it's kinda
Which is,
weird.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, why bother? I mean,
Yeah.
you're already famous, right? So do you have to be famous in every medium? And it's kind of weird. Okay, but so, yeah. Remember that the textbook is calling it a microblog because it gives out information, but only in tiny little. At the time, it's 140. I guess now it's 280. They give you a little more. Open access, yeah. So I mean, that's another thing that's been in the news lately with all the outrage about Facebook, you know, whether purposefully or not, sharing people's profile data on a massive scale with other companies and stuff. There's been at least some contrasting of Facebook where they do have your actual personal data to ensure that each account has a person behind it, versus Twitter, which is like wide open. You know, is Vine still around as an app?
No, no,
That one died pretty big. No,
it died.
it died completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. My kids used to love, who was it? Zach King. 6-second crazy things. Yeah. So they all went to other platforms, I guess. But so Vine is gone.
It was really big though for like 2 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, it was. Yeah, and it always surprised me that's like 6 seconds. Why?
In my high school, a lot of students, literally like groups of students, would do stuff just for they would call it "do it for the Vine."
Okay.
They would do dumb things and like record it all in 6 seconds. It was really funny.
Classical user-generated
Yeah,
content.
sure.
It's perfect.
Do for the Vine.
It's perfect. So Google Plus, good Lord, did you know it even existed? So that's a social network that Google, basically everyone who got a Google account, which, you know, there's so many different apps in Google that you're going to want an account at some point. So you just basically were, you know, saddled with a Google Plus account at the same time. So nobody felt that was an authentic expression of interest or usefulness. It was always kind of laughable. Have you guys heard of Google Plus? Or yeah, somewhat. It's like usually like, why the hell have I got this profile here? What is this? You know, and then it's, oh, Google Plus. How useless. All of Google activity connected through Google Plus. So that's where the paranoid people among us think that, oh, it was all just a way of connecting together all the data about everything you do with every one of their apps. Okay, but has not caught on like Facebook, even though it was transparently a Facebook competitor. Instagram. So what's different about Instagram? Let's say Snapchat allows like picture taking and stuff, right? So what's the difference with Instagram?
You can actually keep your photos.
You keep your photos, yeah?
And it's like more of a like profile as opposed to Snapchat. You don't really have a profile. Like people can't learn your like you can't put a bio or a website. I mean
Interesting.
just in your posts, but
But there's not like a page sitting up there with all this stuff you said about yourself.
yeah, and all your history. Like if anything, Snapchat deletes it.
Right.
So
right.
and that's like I think that's what it's.
That's interesting.
Or,
But Instagram, it's more like a standard kind of Facebooky type with a profile, but then you get to keep your
just
pictures
browsing
up.
Pictures, yeah. You have to make them fit into that square.
Right, right. Which is actually a nice shape for photos. I mean, I love square photos.
Yeah.
It was like in broadcasting, we're all like, you know, horizontal, right? Don't shoot vertical videos. But that was another thing I was noticing. It was like just a day or two ago, like it was something like there was some stat, 29% now of video taken vertically. So it's like sooner or later, it's like things are gonna change from horizontal to vertical. It's kind of weird.
It's because of phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I even see people who are good photographers. They got a phone and they're doing vertical, like just.
I mean, it's sort of. I've seen people who put lens on their phone
Yeah,
camera, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, an iPhone camera is as good as a $200 consumer digital camera was 10 years ago. Good Lord, I'm getting a lot of texts all of a sudden. Yeah, it's killed that. It's killed that type of camera. Okie doke. Let's see here. So, Tumblr. Oh my goodness. Cross between social media site, live stream. So, any thoughts or experiences with Tumblr? Andrea, you've done them all, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've done that.
So, Tumblr. What's your thinking about that?
Tumblr's kind of like Twitter and Instagram combined.
Interesting. How so, though?
Like, because usually, like, it's like a browser like Instagram you're scrolling, except people can also put, like a lot of people who are artists, they put their artwork or their photography, or it's like a personal blog that you share with people. But the format is kind of like Instagram, where you just scroll up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay. Cool.
I feel like people who are more artsy go on Tumblr.
Okay.
Like, they like to share poetry and things like that.
I got it. So they want that stuff to stick around. They want it, to represent them, but it's cool on a phone. You can
You can also do
navigate
music.
through it.
You,
Oh, okay.
You can share music or sound.
Cool.
Yeah.
But do they have restrictions on, can you share other people's music, or it has to be your own? No.
You can share other people's music as long as it has their. You could share any audio, basically.
Like Bruno Mars or something like
Yeah,
that.
you could be like, oh, this is my favorite song, and then you
Okay.
post the song, and people can hear it on your blog.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
see. And where is the source of that file? Is that
Whatever you-
Vivo or something like that? Is that some
I think it could
publisher?
either be like an MP3 file that you downloaded, or like a link to something. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. How about that? Pinterest. Okay. Ay, there's so many of them.
There's something.
There's so many. All right. Well, we got through it. I mean, I think those are the main things. So, like I said, the questions on social media on the exam, a lot of them are just really simple. Which of these social media sites is dedicated to professionals? It's like, okay. All right. As you see, the rest of the chapter is looking at social media as a kind of social phenomenon, and some of the thoughts and misgivings about that. So let's pick it up on Thursday about that. Streamers, give me some ideas about what you want to present on next week, and I'll send out an email about it too to try to catch everybody. Okay.